Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to the SEBI and IFSCA Top 300 MCQs series that we are running so that you are prepared from the examination point of view so that you get to test yourself that how much knowledge you have gained and where you are lacking. Okay, so this is the economics part 4 where we are going to discuss 10 MCQs from the economics topics that are in the SEBI and IFSCA. Okay, so I hope you are prepared for today and you have you have done all the topics for economics syllabus. Okay, so this is part 4 and let's start with the economics top 10 questions for today. So do subscribe to the YouTube channel of EduTap as well as join our Telegram channel. The link of the PDF will be provided in the Telegram channel. The link for the Telegram channel is provided in the description box below and the PDF will be provided in the Telegram channel. So let's get started. So today is the economics part 4 and we will be covering the topics of the monetary policy, fiscal policy as well as the business cycle in today's session. Okay, so do your best and try to get the maximum marks that you can. Read the questions very thoroughly. Okay, so let's start with the question. Hello everyone, welcome to the session. So let's start with the questions. So this is the first question. Try to answer this question. Which of the following curves provide the same information as the short-run Phillips curve? So what is short-run Phillips curve? It shows that there is the inverse relationship between the rate of inflation as well as the unemployment rate. If the rate of inflation is increasing, the unemployment rate is decreasing and vice versa. So the same relationship or the same information is provided by the short-run aggregate supply curve also. Yes, very good. Sorry, Shan Nilesh. Yes, it is the short-run aggregate supply curve that shows us that here we have the price level and here we have the production, okay, or the output. So the aggregate supply curve shows that as the output is increasing, as the production is increasing in the economy, the price level increases in the economy, or with the increase in the price level in the economy, as the prices are increasing in the economy, the production is increasing in the economy. So with the increase in the price level, there is the production that starts increasing. Okay, if the prices are increasing, you will want to produce more goods because for the same product, you are getting higher prices. So the production will increase. To produce the higher quantity of the goods, the more of the employment or the more of the laborers will be employed. That means there will be less unemployment in the country. So you can understand that for the higher production, you need more laborers to produce the higher level of the output, and so the unemployment will decrease. The unemployment is going to decrease. So it is showing you that as the price level is increasing, as the general price level increases in the country, as the inflation increases in the country, the higher production has to be done, and for the higher production there is higher employment. That means unemployment is decreasing. With the higher inflation, there is the decrease in the unemployment. So that's why the short-run aggregate supply curve as well as the short-run Phillips curve, they provide the same information that the inflation rate and the unemployment, they are having the inverse relationship. If the inflation is increasing, unemployment decreases, and if the inflation is decreasing, the unemployment increases. Okay, so that is the idea. Now, this is what we have understood. Now the inflation, it depends upon the three factors. Okay, anyone that can tell me the equation of the inflation? So inflation depends upon the expected inflation. If you are expecting that in the future the prices are going to increase, so you start demanding more currently. If in the future you are expecting that, okay, for this bottle the price is going to increase in the future, so what will you do? You will want to purchase right now when the prices are relatively lower. So the demand increases. That means if the inflation expectations are high, the inflation actually starts increasing. So the inflation depends upon the inflation expectation. The inflation depends upon the cyclical unemployment. That is, the inflation depends on negatively. Inflation negatively depends upon the the extent to which the unemployment rate deviates from the natural rate of unemployment. Let's say the natural rate of unemployment is 5%. Okay, the natural rate of unemployment in a country should be 5%. That is the unemployment that usually sustains in a country because of the frictional unemployment that is happening because of the people that are leaving their jobs willingly. Okay, so 5% is the normal kind of unemployment that sustains in the economy because the people leave their jobs and they find the new jobs for the better working condition and such. And this is the unemployment that is sustaining in our country. Let's say currently the inflation is 8%. That means from the natural rate of unemployment, the current unemployment is 3% higher. If the unemployment is higher, that means the inflation should be lower. Okay, that's why there is a negative sign showing that if the current unemployment is higher, if the current unemployment is very high, the inflation will be lower. And the B1 shows this relationship between the unemployment and the inflation. Okay, then the supply shocks. On the supply shocks also, the inflation depends upon if there is the supply chain disruption that happened during the COVID situation. So due to the supply chain disruptions, the inflation also increases. So you can understand that this is your supply curve. If there is at the same level of the production, if there is the decrease in the supply because of the supply chain disruption, because of some kind of barrier that has happened in the supply in between the countries due to COVID, what happened that the transfer of the product was not easy to do in between the countries, due to which the supply was disrupted. Due to Russia-Ukraine war also, the supply disrupted. So at the same production level, the supply has reduced. So you can understand that the price level increases. That means inflation increases. So if there are the more supply chain disruptions, there will be higher inflation. So that's why the inflation, it positively depends upon the inflation expectations. If it is higher, the inflation will be higher. If the supply chain disruptions are higher, the inflation will be higher. And it negatively depends upon the cyclical unemployment. That is how much the current unemployment is different from the natural rate of unemployment. So if the current unemployment is very near to the natural rate of unemployment, that means inflation will be low. Inflation will be high. If it is low, if the current unemployment is low, that means inflation will be high and such. So this is the idea. Yes. So next is, which one of the following is a capital receipt in government budget? In the government budget, there are two budgets, we can say, that revenue budget and capital budget. Revenue budget includes revenue receipts and the revenue expenditure. Capital budget includes the capital receipts and the capital expenditure. Okay, so that means revenue receipts and revenue expenditure. Revenue receipts are being received by the government in the form of regular payments such as the taxes, fees, fines, dividends, okay, that the government is getting from the public sector undertakings, the part of the profit. Expenditure, the government is spending in the regular things like the salaries, pensions and such. Capital receipts, the government is receiving these by decreasing the assets, by selling its own asset, the land, the property, the public sector undertakings, if the government is selling it or disinvesting in that, or increasing the liability, that is taking loans. Capital expenditure, the government is increasing the assets by making roads, by buying the machinery, tools, equipments, or the government is reducing the liabilities by paying back the loans. Okay, so capital receipt means the government is receiving the money by reducing the asset or increasing the liability. So which of the answer is correct? Yes, C is the correct answer here. Very good, Sorish, Nilesh and Shruti. So borrowings of the government from public. So the government is increasing. Government is receiving the money by increasing the liability. By increasing the liability. Liability is what the government has to return. So the borrowings from the public has to be returned. The interest receipts, they are regular in nature. That's why they come under the revenue receipts. Dividends, that is a part of profit from the public sector undertakings. They also come under the revenue receipts. The income tax receipts, that is the tax, that also is regular in nature. That's why they come under the revenue receipts. So capital receipts are the ones that are creating the liability or that are reducing the assets. Okay. The revenue receipts are regular in nature. Okay. Next is, which one of the following is a non-tax revenue receipt? So revenue receipts that are regular in nature, but it is non-tax. That means it is not related to tax. So try to answer this question, very easy. Direct taxes, indirect taxes, they are taxable in nature. They are taxes actually. The dividends and disinvestment. So which of the following should be the non-tax revenue receipts? Anyone? Okay, I'm getting the answer C and D. Here the answer is C. Disinvestment is what? Disinvestment is reducing the asset. The government is selling a part of LIC, the government is selling a part of ONGC. That means the government is reducing the asset. Reducing the asset is a capital receipt. The government is receiving this money. The government is receiving this money by reducing the asset. So that is a capital receipt. Here we are asking the non-tax revenue receipt. So the dividends that is a part of profit that the government is getting on the regular basis from the public sector undertakings, from the public banks and such. So these are the dividends are the non-tax revenue receipts. They are the revenue receipts that are not tax, So here the answer is C. The answer is C. Is it clear to all the students that are giving the answer D? D is decreasing the assets. Decreasing the assets, reducing the assets, they come under the capital receipts and they do not come under the revenue receipts. That's why I brought this question to make this very clear to you, to be very attentive when you are giving the answers. Understood? Yes or no? So revenue receipts, they are regular, they are recurring in nature, they do not reduce the asset, they do not create the liability. Yes. Dividend from RBI, that means the Reserve Bank of India is also earning profits. From this profits, a part of the profit, that is dividend, is going to the government of India. Okay, the profits of the Reserve Bank of India, they go to the government of India because the Reserve Bank of India is owned by government of India, right? So if Ambani owns the Reliance, then the profits of Reliance will go to Ambani, okay, or the shareholders. So here the RBI is held by government of India. So the dividends, the part of the profit is going to the government of India. That is the idea. Which of the following is the non-debt creating capital receipt? Which of the following is the non-debt creating capital receipt that you have to tell me? So it is a capital receipt that is not creating the debt, that is not creating the liability. Okay. So interest received, this is first of all, this is revenue receipt. If the government is receiving the interest, that is on regular basis, so that is revenue receipt. Loan recovery. So if the government has given the loan, that is the asset of the government because the government is earning the interest on this loan. So loan is the asset of the government. If the government is recovering this loan, is getting back this loan, so this is reducing the asset of the government, that is a capital receipt. So non-debt creating capital receipt means that is not increasing the liability, that means it must be decreasing the asset to be the capital receipt. Capital receipt means you are increasing the liability or decreasing the asset. So non-debt creating capital receipts means that you cannot increase the liability. So here you are reducing the asset by recovering the loans. Okay. So B is the answer here. Yes. So Nilesh and Sorish has given the right answer. It is B. Yes, Shruti. Very good. It is B. Loan recovery. Loans cannot be included under the non-debt creating capital receipts. They are capital receipts, but they are creating debt. Okay. So non-debt capital receipts are recovery of loan or advances, okay, that you have given, or reducing the asset, that is by doing the disinvestment, or that is by selling the company or such. So that is the idea. Which of the following is not matched correctly? That you have to tell me. Which of the following is not matched correctly? Interest payments by the government, this is the revenue expenditure that the government has to do on the regular basis. The government has to pay the interest. Subsidies given by the government, that is revenue expenditure. Loan dispersals by the government is giving the loan, that is the asset of the government, that is the government is creating the asset, so that is capital expenditure, because if the government is giving the loan, on this the government is going to earn the interest, so that is a asset for the government. Salaries, pension, they come under the revenue expenditure. They come under the revenue expenditure because they are regular in nature. The loan repayment by the government, this is also capital expenditure because this is reducing the liability of the government when the government is repaying the loan. Okay, reducing the liability and increasing the asset comes under the capital expenditure. So here, yes, very good everyone. D is the right answer here. Okay. So now a big announcement from EduTap that we have brought for you the test series for the phase 1 plus phase 2 as well as for phase 2 particularly. So this is for your complete preparation of the SEBI Grade A examination so that you are able to do maximum of the questions to get that how much you have prepared and how much further you have to prepare. Okay, this is complete in the sense that we are providing you the chapter wise test as well as the full length test as well as the current affairs test as well as the solved previous year question. So if you think that you have prepared all the 6 subjects and now you want to practice, even you have prepared the current affairs and now you want to practice, so this is the best solution for you, that you can practice a lot of MCQs to gauge that how much the level of your preparation actually is. Okay, so this is at flat 55% off. Use code the SEBI 55. You can enroll right now to give the maximum, to do the maximum of the MCQs. Okay. Next is in case of recessionary tendency. If there is a recessionary tendency in the economy, which of the following policies will be followed in the economy by the monetary authority and the government of the country? So which of the following is true? So try to answer this. Okay, I'm getting the answer E. Everyone agrees with this answer? See, if there is the recession in the country, that means the demand is low, the prices are low. If the prices are low, the production is low. If the production is low, that means employment is low, the income is low. If the income is low, the further the demand is low, and this cycle is continuing. Okay, and this recession can deepen into the depression in the economy and it will lead to the lowest of the economic activities. So we do not want that. The monetary authority, the RBI, the government do not want that. So the government and the monetary authority, the RBI, will intervene. The RBI, the monetary authority, can do the expansionary monetary policy where the RBI will release more of the money supply in the economy. The interest rate will be decreased, so that the people can take easy loans and can spend in the economy so that the demand can increase and this cycle, this negative cycle, can be broken down. Expansionary fiscal policy, the government undertakes the fiscal policy. Expansionary fiscal policy, the government will increase the government expenditure so that the aggregate demand can increase, or the government can reduce the taxes so that the demand can increase in the economy. So here the right answer is absolutely correct, E. That is 2 and 4 is correct. So policy tools, expansionary monetary policy, where see what happens that under the expansionary monetary policy, the RBI wants to increase the money supply or wants to decrease the interest rate. So in this case, the RBI will decrease the CRR, which is a percentage of the net demand and time liabilities, which is the percentage of the deposits of the bank that the bank has to keep with the RBI. So if the CRR is decreased, that means the bank will have to keep less percentage with the RBI and will have more percentage to lend. SLR is the percentage of NDTL that the banks have to keep with itself. So if this is decreased, that means banks have more money to lend. Repo rate is the rate at which the banks are getting the loans from the RBI. If the RBI is decreasing this rate and is giving the loans at cheaper rate to the banks will also give the loans at the cheaper rate to the customers. Reverse repo rate, instead of reverse repo rate, now SDF is more used. That is a standing deposit facility through which the Reserve Bank of India takes the deposits from the banks. If the SDF is decreased, that means banks will not want to deposit with the RBI because they are getting very less rate. So they would rather lend to the public and the money supply can be increased in the economy. MSF, that is the emergency. In the emergency case, MSF is used by the banks to take the loans from the RBI. Now, in the case of contractionary monetary policy, if there is huge inflation, then the contractionary monetary policy is adopted, where the RBI is trying to decrease the money supply, is trying to decrease the inflation in the country, decrease the demand in the country, so increase the interest rate. So RBI will do the opposite, that is increase the CRR, SLR so that the banks have less money to lend, increase the repo rate so that the interest rate can be increased in the economy, and increase the MSF rate, increase the SDF so that the banks have the incentive to deposit with the RBI, so they have less money supply to lend. So this is the idea. Expansionary fiscal policy, the government increases the government spending and decreases the taxes to increase the aggregate demand. During the recessionary tendency, expansionary fiscal policy is adopted. If there is very high inflation in the economy, in this case, the government decreases its demand and increases the taxes so that the demand can decrease in the economy and inflation can be controlled in the economy. Because if there is very high aggregate demand, the prices start increasing very rapidly. So if this has to be controlled, inflation has to be controlled, aggregate demand has to be controlled. Try to give the right answer of this question now, that which of the following signifies the fiscal deficit. Okay, so try to answer this. Anyone? So all of you must be aware about that the fiscal deficit is equal to total expenditure minus total receipts excluding borrowing. Okay. So the government is spending more than its receipts excluding borrowing. So there must be some fiscal deficit that will be happening. So this is the simple formula of fiscal deficit. If you open this formula up, there will be multiple formulas that can come out. So here I am getting the answer E from everyone, and that is absolutely correct. So total expenditure is the capital expenditure plus the revenue expenditure. Total receipts are the revenue receipts and the capital receipts excluding borrowing. In the capital receipts, we take the borrowings also. Capital receipts are the receipts of the government where the government is increasing its liability by taking the borrowing. So that comes under the capital receipt. The government is receiving the money from the borrowing also by increasing the liability. Revenue expenditure minus the revenue receipts, this is actually revenue deficit. So another formula can be that capital expenditure plus the revenue deficit minus the capital receipts excluding borrowing. Capital receipts excluding the liability is the excluding the borrowing is the non-debt creating capital receipts. So this is another formula, that total expenditure minus the revenue receipts minus the non-debt creating capital receipts. Non-debt creating capital receipts. Capital expenditure plus the revenue expenditure minus the revenue receipts plus all the receipts of the government, the capital receipts of the government that are non-debt creating. So recovery of loans, disinvestment, other non-debt creating capital receipts, all of these are non-debt creating capital receipts. So here all of the above is the correct answer. Okay, so this is the one formula. Through one formula you are getting multiple formulas. Okay, so that is the idea. Now this is a question on the repo operation, the repurchase operation of the Reserve Bank of India. So try to answer this question, a very easy question, but these kind of questions have been seen in the examination. So try to answer this. It is a form of collateralized lending. So Reserve Bank of India is giving the loans to the banks, and the banks have to give the government securities as the collateral to the Reserve Bank of India. So yes, it is a collateralized lending. It is a type of money market instrument. So yes, repo operation, this is a short-term instrument. So it is a money market instrument. It is the rate at which RBI borrows money from the commercial banks. No, it is a rate at which the RBI is lending the money to the banks. Okay, so this is wrong. Lowering of repo rate, if the repo rate is lowered, that means in the economy the interest rate will decrease, and when the interest rate is decreased, more of the loans will be taken for the investment purposes, and this will boost the demand, this will boost the consumption in the economy, because more loans can be taken for the consumption and for the investment purposes. So remember, if the repo rate is decreasing, the banks will also want to decrease, or they can also decrease their interest rate, and so more loans will be taken, and this will boost the demand in the economy as the money supply is increased in the economy. So A, B and D are correct, only the C statement is incorrect, and that's why this is the answer. Okay, yes, C is the answer here. Very good everyone. So next question is that the trough of a business cycle occurs when dash hits lowest point. So this is the business cycle. Okay, in the long run we are growing it in the, like from the 1947, if you see to the 2024, we have grown a lot. You can see the flyovers that we have, you can see the huge buildings that we have, you can see the 5G that we have, you can see the computers and the laptops that we have. You can see the labor force and the standard of living that the people have. The healthcare system has improved. So from the 1947 to 2024, we have, in the long run, the economy has grown. But in the short run, if we see that we have seen many ups and downs. In 2008, the crisis came in US that spread to the rest of the world, and India was also hit by that crisis, not to a great extent, but it affected India to certain extent. Okay. During the COVID situation, the GDP was going down, the economic activities was going down. So that means we have the good points where we are growing extremely, where the expansion is happening. Then we reach to the peak where the economic activity is at the highest point. But then we start having the recession due to any of the circumstance. There can be the lower demand, lower production and such. So economic activities decreases and we reach to the recession, depression, and then the trough where the aggregate economic activity is at the lowest point, So here the C is the correct answer. Okay. Involuntary unemployment is high because see, during the trough, the economic activities are at the lowest point. So at this time, there is huge unemployment, there is huge involuntary unemployment. That means the people, they are willing to work and they are able to do work, but they are not able to find the work. So that is involuntary unemployment. Okay, so that is also high. Aggregate economic activity is at the lowest, the demand is lowest, the prices are at the lowest, the production is at the lowest point. The inflation is not possible during the trough. Inflation means that positive rise in the price, there is the rise in the general price level. But during the trough, what is happening? Deflation is happening. Deflation is happening where the price level is actually decreasing. Is not increasing, it is decreasing. That means we have negative inflation. So inflation is not at the lowest point. Inflation cannot be present during the trough. Inflation cannot be present during the trough. It is actually deflation that is present and that is increasing in the country. Okay. So this is the complete idea of the business cycle that you can see. In the long run, the trend is that we are growing, but in the short run, due to many of the external circumstances or the internal circumstances, it can happen that we are expanding very fast. We are at the peak where the economic activities are happening very good, but then we can contract, the recession, depression can come into the country, and the trough is the lower point. Okay, so peak is the upper turning point and the trough is the lower turning point from where the economy turns to the other side. Okay. Next is, which of the following is not one of the characteristics of the expansion phase of a business cycle? Expansion means our economy is expanding, the economic activities are expanding. So which of the following is not one of the characteristic of the expansion phase that you have to tell me? So here, increase in national output. So yes, when the expansion is happening, the output will increase, the demand will increase, the consumer spending will increase. The fall in rate of interest. Okay, so the rate of interest will not decrease because at this time what is happening, that the production is increasing, the demand is increasing, so more investment will happen. That means more demand for money. Higher demand for money means, you can see at the same level of money supply, higher demand for money. Demand for money is increasing, so the rate of interest is also going to increase because of the positive sentiment of the people. Because of the positive sentiment of the people, it's not like that. The demand for money is not increasing because of the income. It is because of the positive sentiment of the people, that they are seeing that, okay, economy is growing so well, so whatever we invest, we will be getting good profits. So because of their positive sentiments, the demand for money is increasing. The demand for loans are increasing, due to which the rate of interest is going to increase. So no, it is not falling, it is increasing. The involuntary unemployment is falling. The unemployment is falling because the production is higher. The production is higher, so the employment is higher, the unemployment is lower. Okay. Inflation, it is also rising because when there is higher production, there is further higher demand. So with the higher demand, the supply takes time to increase, so the inflation or the prices start increasing. Okay. So inflation, fall in voluntary unemployment, the increase in consumer spending, increase in national output, they are all the characteristic of expansion phase in the economy. Okay. Fall in rate of interest is not correct. The rate of interest will be increasing during the expansion phase. So this is the complete idea. Here, C is the idea. So now here is the homework question. Here is the homework question for you all. I hope you will be easily able to answer this question. So in the monetary policy, there are the quantitative tools and qualitative tools. Quantitative tools are general in nature that affect all the banks and such. Qualitative tools, they are selective credit control tools and they are selective in nature. You have to tell that which of the following is or are not the qualitative effective tools of monetary policy. So this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the session. Do tell me that how many marks you have got out of 10, as well as give the right answer of the homework question. As I always say that even if you are making any mistake, do not be afraid. Learn from your mistakes, that what mistake you have done, and after that you have to build your concept on that basis, that okay, I have made this mistake and how to rectify it. I have to make my concepts more stronger. So this is the learning that you need to get, right? So thank you very much. It is the economics class for the SEBI and IFSCA. Economics static for SEBI and IFSCA, okay? You're most welcome. Harish. This investment is, here we have discussed, disinvestment is the, we have told that disinvestment, it does not come under the revenue receipt. Disinvestment are the capital receipts, because disinvestment means that you are decreasing your assets. So they are capital receipts, okay? Thank you so much, Shruti, means a lot. Do tell me in the comment section also if you are liking the sessions, and do tell me how much marks you have got, okay? And do give the right answer of the homework question. Yes. The disinvestment, it is a capital receipt. Okay, it is a part of capital receipt, as this is decreasing the asset. So this is not creating the liability, this is not creating the debt. So disinvestments, remember that the disinvestment, the recovery of loans, they all are the non-debt creating capital receipts. Here it is also written, yes, loan is a debt creating capital receipt, and the disinvestment as well as the recovery of loans, if you are recovering the loans, they are decreasing the asset, so they are non-debt creating capital receipt. They are not creating the debt, they are decreasing the asset. You can have the money by selling your land or taking loan on that land. So if you are taking loan, that is debt creating. If you are not taking loan, if you are selling a part of that land, that is disinvestment, let's say. So you are selling a part of that land, so that is non-debt creating capital receipt. Taking liability, debt creating. Not taking liability, decreasing your asset, non-debt creating capital receipt. So this is clear? The audio, is there any problem? So this is it from my side. You're most welcome, everyone. Have a good day, and do tell me that how much marks you have got. Okay, do tell me that how much marks you have got in the comment section, and do tell me the answer of the homework question. Thank you, everyone. You are most welcome, Nilesh. You are most welcome, Sarish. You are most welcome, Divyansh and Shruti. Thank you so much for attending the session, okay?